Hi there, and welcome to the Pip and Pin podcast. My name is Megan Nodecker. I'm a knitwear designer from Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today I'm going to be talking to you about some of the things that I've been working on. So some of my works in progress. I have a finished thing to show you, as well as I really like to weave in my tips and tricks for sweater knitting and knitting in general. So I hope you enjoy. And let's get started. So I have been doing this podcast for a really long time, off and on for I think over 5 years or so. And I've always kind of followed this formula where I, do an episode and I talk about the things that I've been doing. That's kind of standard from what I've been doing for a really long time. I've thrown in some tutorials and things like that here and there. But I think what I'm going to start doing from now on is I'm still going to keep these episodes because I really love, especially now that I'm not designing so much, I really do love sharing the projects that I'm working on from other designers and talking about how making my changes to them because that's what I love teaching about. So I've been really enjoying that. I'm not going to stop doing that. But I also realized that I wanted to do some more like pointed episodes almost that don't involve the things that I'm working on. So if you noticed, I posted an episode last week. It was all about how I actually earn money and pay myself as a designer. So I'll post a link to that one down below if you missed it. But it's basically, it didn't feel like it really fit in with this kind of show and tell format, which I love so much. So I decided to create its own little video. And I have another one that's coming up probably in the next couple of weeks or so that's going to be about how to make adjustments to get a certain look out of a sweater. So that's kind of in its own container as well. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up about those changes going forward so you'll know what to look for if you're ever searching for specifically these types of episodes and you might not really want to watch the other ones or vice versa. Maybe you want to watch the other ones and this kind of thing isn't really your thing. So how to tell the difference is on the thumbnails, I'll always put the episode number if it's something like this. So this is episode 89 of my show and tell knitting vlog for you. Any other kind of specialty things, little one-offs where I just talk about different topics. I have lots of things planned. If I, get to them all, we shall see. But those ones will have like their own title and then maybe a little blurb about what it's about. So it won't have like episode 90 or episode 92 in it because it's not going to follow the same format. But this format isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so don't fret. Anyways, all that to say, welcome to episode 89. I always like to start off by showcasing what I'm wearing. So I'm going to talk about this sweater that I'm wearing today. And this spring has been really cold. It has been not very spring-like at all. And we actually had a really warm winter here. And so I have like maybe 6 or 7 sweaters that have just been on constant repeat this whole winter, and this has been one of them. This is the rainforest, this is the Pacific rainforest sweater that I designed 2 years ago, and I'll make sure to put a link to that down in Ravelry for you. I knit this with Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, and I can't remember the name of the colorway, but it's something heathered. I really love their heathered yarns. This has stood up really well. It's quite inexpensive, which is also a nice bonus. And I do find it comfortable enough to wear next to skin, so I don't find it too itchy at all. It does, you can see I've been wearing this. It does have some pills, and like I've said before, pills don't really bother me too much. It just means that a sweater's been worn. If you are worried about pills in your sweater, invest in a gleaner. That's just like a little thing that you kind of use to pull the pills off. And as you wear your sweater more and more, you will have to de-pill it less and less. Because these are just the extra fibers that are kind of getting bunched up into these little pills, and then you take them off. But the more you wear the sweater, the more you de-pill the sweater, the less you're going to have to do it because all of the like strongest fibers stay. This is actually a size extra large, and it has 6.75 inches of positive ease. So that means it's 6.5 inches bigger than my body at the bust. This is a little bit more than what's suggested in the pattern because my body changes, and at the moment it's a little bit smaller than it was when I designed this sweater. So it's yeah, it fits a little bit looser than when I had originally knit it, but I'm really, really happy with the fit. A couple of things that I really do love about this, and I'll just stand up to show you the whole thing in all its glory. It's a little bit cropped, but it's not too, like it's not way up here. It just kind of hits just nicely down here. It has bracelet length sleeves, which honestly, normally I just pull up a little bit like that. It's very casual, very cozy. It has 2x2 rib for all of the edgings, which are quite wide. And then it also has this, I think of them as raindrops, but everyone has a little bit different interpretation of them, which I think is really interesting and fun. I named it Pacific Rainforest because I viewed it as cascading raindrops. Some people view them as flowers, little cherry blossoms, which I think is adorable. And I've also heard octopus tentacles. So I just really like this motif. There is also actually a matching hat that goes with it, but I don't have that here. This stitch is really interesting actually because it looks really complicated, and it kind of is, but it's actually just really rapid increases and really rapid decreases. So it's not anything too scary. I do also have a tutorial. There's a link for it in the pattern, or you can search for it through my videos, but there is a tutorial to do this little stitch. It's almost like a bobble, but it's kind of like stretched out. It's very interesting. And then of course, nice wide neckline, which I love. So yes, this Pacific Rainforest by me, definitely one of my like top 5 sweaters of this winter. And it's still carrying me into what is supposed to be spring. All right. I do actually have a finished object to show you. It's not one of the sweaters that I've been working on, but this is a pair of socks that I've been working on for quite some time. I generally have socks in my purse or in my car. It's my take-along project. If we go for a walk, or if I'm visiting with friends or something like that, then I'll usually bring a pair of socks along with me because they are just really easy to work on, super portable, don't have to think about them at all. Anyways, this is Hermione's Everyday Sock. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people have made this sock because it is, I find it's like just engaging enough to be interesting. I love a good plain stockinette sock as well, but this, I just wanted a little bit something more. I've made lots of these socks, and so yeah, it was just a pattern that I wanted to go back to. I did the cuffs and what is this called? A heel and a toe. I used Knit Pick Stroll Tweed for those. A few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, many years ago, I was doing a Knit Picks order when they had their sale on, and I just like filled my cart full of really basic neutral stroll colors specifically for heels and toes and cuffs. So I have like grays and beiges and black and white and all sorts of just like really neutral colors. So I do use those for socks very often. And then this main color, this is Deep Stash, Deep Stash. I think this was Autumn and Indigo, which I don't think is a yarn company anymore. I think the colorway was called Plaid or Flannel, maybe. But it's oranges and browns in this fun kind of variegated, speckly goodness. And it's funny, it was one of those skeins of yarn that I loved so much, and I bought it and I always loved it, but it was like It was probably one of the first hand-dyed skeins of yarn that I had ever bought, and so it felt really special, and it felt like it needed a special project, and so I just actually didn't use it ever. This is probably like 10-year-old stash yarn. I am very glad that I did use it finally, and it's a little bit, I don't know, it just feels a little bit nostalgia for like baby knitter Megan to finally have used that like really special yarn that I was saving for no particular reason. All right, on to some works in progress. So I have two sweaters that I've been working away on, and one of them is going real well. One of them is giving me a little trouble, and let's start with that one. So this is my Paul Klee Sweater, and I've actually got lots of progress since the last time I showed you that, but I have some issues. So here it is. I'm still very, 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 very much in love with it. Every time I try it on, it feels great, but there are some things that I'm going to need to fix. So this is it so far. As you can tell, I finished the body. I know I had talked last time about adding a 1x1 twisted rib hem, and I tried it and I just didn't love it. So I just went back to my 2x2 rib. I do feel like it works well with the squares in a way, and then I just did a normal just the regular bind off in pattern, and then I also mirrored that at the neckline. So I'll get back to the neckline in a minute, but I also, once I finished the body, it's at a great length. As soon as I finished the body, I actually blocked it and tried it on, and it, like, the length is perfect. The drape of this yarn is wonderful. This is Midnight Cravings Light Suck, and it just blocks out beautifully and is so soft. And it just drapes great. So that's perfect. And then I know I only had 2 skeins of this emerald yarn in my stash, and so I kind of figured that I wasn't going to be able to get full sleeves out of it, which is why I knit the body first, because I'd rather the body be the right length than have a really short sweater, because I know I wouldn't wear that. So I did, once I kind of finished the body and this, which we'll come back to later, I did split my yarn into exactly half. I just used a kitchen scale and I split it in half, and I knit as much as I possibly could of one sleeve. And it ends maybe about here, which is a bit of an awkward length. I was thinking maybe if it was here, I could add a contrasting cuff and it would, you know, I could kind of stretch it out a little bit, but this is just too short to be lengthened into any sort of sleeve and too long for me to be a t-shirt. So I think what I'm actually going to do is bring it back up to about t-shirt length, put a 2x2 ribbed cuff on it, and it's going to be a cute little t-shirt. Coming into spring with these bright colors, I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. I think it's going to be super cute. So I'm not as upset about that decision as I was thinking. I mean, I really did want it to be a long sleeve sweater, but I knew going in that probably wasn't going to happen. So I'm perfectly content with the short sleeves that it's going to have. But this neckline, let me tell you, this is the 4th neckband that I've put on, and I'm going to take this out as well. So let me start by talking about what I've done previously. So, actually, I'm going to put it on for you because I think I'll be able to demonstrate a little better. 1 second here. All right, so this is it on. Let me just stand up and show you the body because it really is just like, it's been scrunched in my bag a little bit, but this is it blocked. and it is just the right length, I think, and it feels really good. I really like how the shoulder lays, and as you can see, this is what I mean by it's just like awkward here. You know, I know lots of people do like that kind of length, but I just don't love it on me. So I'm actually going to pull this back probably to about here and then add a hem. So let's talk about necklines. So it is very bunched up here. It does not have any short row shaping in it. If I can turn to the side, you can see too that the back has lots of my back showing. What short rows would do is actually kind of cover this up and push the front forward like that. So that's kind of what short rows on the back of the neck are supposed to do. Now, I don't know what's going on with this sweater. So what I had originally done is in the pattern, they had you cast on at this neckband and work straight from the top down. I didn't want to do that because I did want a little more control over my neckline. So I did a provisional cast on here, worked down, and then picked up stitches here. And I tried a couple different things. So I picked up my stitches around here, and I did try to write the short row shaping for the back. I did try to just work it backwards and then add in like a little bit of a smaller neckband than they suggested. But I found that how those short rows were written created like this bump in the back. And I did try to block it as well, but it still didn't, it just didn't sit right. So I ripped that back. And then what I did try to do is I also tried rewriting the short rows in the back. So I did try to, I kind of had it a little bit of a, basically what short rows do is they add a little wedge of fabric. And the way that these short rows were written, it was kind of like tall and skinny. So it was like, it didn't go across too much of the back. So what I did, almost like in this sweater, you can see the one I was wearing earlier. Here are the short rows in the back, and then they come all the way around the neckline to like here is where the first short row is. In this pattern, they were all kind of condensed like here in the back, and so it was producing this weird bump. So I did try to rewrite those short rows and make them more like this. So just stretch them out and make them more, just more eased in there, you know. That still didn't work. It still created this weird bump, and it was very jarring. It was, I should have taken pictures and I should have talked about this as it was happening, but I didn't. But it did still create this like this part where it had your color work was all nice, and then it had this weird trunk thing where it was very like obviously not seamless. It was not supposed to be that way. So then I did try to do that again, actually, and go down 2 needle sizes so that maybe it was that the color work was pulling in a little bit, or the gauge was a little bit different on the color work. And so I tried it with 2 needle sizes down. That still produced that weird little bump. And then I just ripped it all out and said, well, maybe I don't need short rows at all. Oh no, that third time where I tried with the short rows, I, instead of doing a neckband like this, I did try to do an I-cord bind off with this dark purple instead. So it had like the short rows were in the green, and then it had, oh my goodness, I might have to take this off. I feel like it's getting me. I'll just pull it forward. Okay, so I did try an I-cord bind off with this dark purple here. It just, nothing worked. Nothing was right. Um, and this is not right either. So, but after that time, I just ripped it out and I just put this on with no short row shaping. Um, and I mean, I could barely last 5 minutes in it with it because it just, all it wants to do is like sit and sit way up here. And that makes me itchy, like in my bones. So I can't have my sweater do that. Um, so this is coming out too. And, I've been pondering what to do about this for like 2 weeks. My original intention with this one was in the back, I was actually going to cut below the color work and add short rows below the color work to pull it forward. I need to take this off. Hang on. All right, that's better. So I kind of forget what I was talking about, but my intention with this neckband was to then cut in underneath the color work on the back and add a short row here because that would actually do the same thing above the color work. It would just be below. But then I kind of realized that that wasn't going to work either because half the problem, maybe 3/4 of the problem, isn't just that the short row shaping wasn't working, but that the neck is just too tight for me. um, and yeah, so I've come to the conclusion that as much as I don't want to, I am going to rip back some of this color work. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this green one off. And I'm going to take this red stripe off, which is actually like this red stripe is my favorite one of the whole sweater, which is why I've been so hesitant to do it. So I am going to take these two stripes off entirely. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this red because I'm going to add it back in. So I'm going to use this red. I'm going to do some rapid decreasing, I think, to kind of pull it in a little bit. And then I'm going to do some short rows to lift that back up, push that front down, and hopefully it'll be enough that I can do this 2x2 and maybe a folded collar or a folded brim. But it might just be an I-cord. we're still experimenting here. So this is kind of the next plan. And I think that will be nice. I think it will still tie in with this bright red that I really want in there. I was thinking about being a little more safe and going with the purple, but no, I think I'm going to do the red. And hopefully that will work. Now, when I cast this sweater on, I felt in my bones that there was going to be an issue with the neckband. I was looking at projects on Ravelry, and I think I even watched a couple videos of other people who have knit this sweater, and I saw some issues right away that I completely ignored. And one of them being, and I think the main problem with this particular sweater is the shape of the yoke. So if you can see my shoulders, I have quite square shoulders. They're quite flat. This sweater is quite sloped. So, I mean, you can see, let me fold it this way. So you can see that the yoke it has quite a slope like this. Other circular yoke sweaters, I don't think I have one. I'm not going to take this one off again. But they are not as sloped like this. And even you can see too, this wouldn't be such an issue if this was more sloped. So what you want in a circular yoked sweater, what makes it work so well is having that pie shape in each of the little segments. Like, I'll show you what I mean. I'll just give a quick glance on this chart here. Nobody's going to be able to make this pattern with just this chart. But, oh, here's just the color work chart, kind of. So this is how it repeats. This is kind of for color planning purposes only. Anyways, so this is the shape of each kind of wedged repeat. And you can see that it's not, like, what would be better for me, specifically because I'm a little more straight across, is because I would want this to be like that almost, right? So to come in closer here and have more of an angle out. I think that would fix a lot of the issues with this particular sweater. You can see this is where your cast on is here, right down here. You do some increases before you start the color work, but not a ton. And then you don't increase again until here. And then your main big increase is actually in your second stripe of color work. And that should be your first big increase should pretty much be right away. And I think that is what's causing a lot of problems with this sweater. That's why the short rows are bubbling up. That's why if you look at the projects on Ravelry, and this is something that I noticed on myself too, I'm not putting this back on, but I noticed in myself too, when I would move my arms, you could kind of see that there was extra fabric here. And even if the short rows were working and that was pulled down, it still kind of did this weird bunchy thing right up at the front here. And that's just because there's not enough increases fast enough. And I kind of felt that as I was working this right away. I mean, this is my second yoke almost because I restarted the sweater with an entirely new color palette after I'd already almost knit half of it. So I should have known by then that this was probably going to be an issue. I'd even thought about cutting out these first two stripes right away, and I didn't do it. So I guess that's just more reason for me to really fully trust my gut, because I do usually know what I'm doing. I was really excited to start. But yeah, that just means that I will have to go back, take out those two stripes, do a really rapid decrease so that it is the right shape. I could, now that I'm thinking about it, I could potentially go back. No, I was thinking, sorry. I was thinking I could go back and then re-knit these two with different shaping, but because they're knit in different directions, this yoke is knit down this way and the rest of the neckband is going to be knit this way. They won't line up properly, and I feel like I'm just going to enjoy a bigger neckline anyways. So that's something that I'm going to do, and then I'll really love it. Because there are aspects about this sweater that I really, really do love. So I do want to make it into something that I am going to wear. And if there's one thing that I've learned from this pattern, from this project so far, is how valuable Ravelry is. I know not everyone can use Ravelry, and that's a big bummer. But as a resource, especially when you are planning projects or starting projects or trying to figure out what they're going to look like on you, being able to see other people's projects on Ravelry on different bodies, you can read their notes about what worked and what didn't work, all that kind of stuff. That's crazy valuable. One of the things that I have decided to do this year is I really do want to start putting my projects on Ravelry again. Not just for myself, because I love looking back on the projects that I've done and, reading about what I thought about them and what I changed and what yarn I used and what size I made, all those little things too that you might want to go back and look at. And just seeing all the things that you've accomplished is pretty nice. But also as a resource for other people for when they are going and starting this project. Well, here's some advice, or here's some things, or here's just a picture of me in my body wearing it, so that if your body looks like my body, you can see kind of how it might look. Yeah. So Ravelry is a great resource, and I'm going to start contributing to it more because I should have just followed my gut. And it's like I could see in the pictures on Ravelry, not on all of them, some of them fit really beautifully, but others did have that bunching that I was kind of talking about. And so that's an issue that I do know kind of how I might tackle from the beginning. So yeah. I think that's it about Paul over here. Yeah. Now that I've decided that it's going to be a t-shirt, I can probably have this done before the weather turns again. It's supposed to be raining and really gross for pretty much all of spring break. It's Georgia's spring break right now. It's supposed to be really terrible weather for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully after that, it should clear up maybe. But maybe by then, I will have a cute new t-shirt to wear. So that's exciting. And if it doesn't, if it stays cold and dreary, I might have a really warm sweater to wear in the next 2 weeks as well. So moving right along to my Rosie sweater. I really don't have much to say about this sweater at the moment, aside from I'm really enjoying knitting it. I'm just about finished the body. So here is all my color work. And I'm doing a really long hem at the bottom. So I probably have maybe another inch or so to go. I don't remember exactly what is written in the pattern, but I just wanted a really, really long one. And it is in 1x1 rib. And I do, because I always kind of find that my knitting is it feels a little sloppy when I do 1x1 rib normally. So I actually do combination knitting. But I can't explain it with words right now. I could show you how to do it, but I can't really explain it with words right now. So I will put a link to, I made a little Instagram video about it one time and kind of explained how to do it in the caption. So maybe I'll post a link to that Instagram video and you can see what I mean when I mean combination knitting. But it really just kind of tightens up your purl stitches and makes everything look a little neater overall. So yeah, I have a little bit left to do on that. And then I'm going to give it a block and make sure that it's all right. And then I just have sleeves to do. So the sleeves, I'll have some color work and then knit a little bit more and then some more color work. And then the neckband. Actually, I'll probably put the neckband on first and then I'll do my sleeves. But very, very excited about this one. It is my first time making a whole sweater with mohair. I know I'm very behind the curve on that one. I know it's going to be really warm, but I figured with the big neckline, it's a nice kind of open neckline, that's going to be quite all right. What else did I have to say about this? Oh yeah, someone had asked a couple of questions on my last episode and I wanted to answer them for you guys as well in case you were wondering. So I had a couple of, I don't have them here, but for this sweater, I had made a couple of really big swatches. I made one without mohair because that was my original intention, and then I had randomly found the perfect colors of mohair, so I did another swatch with the mohair. And so they were asking if I generally, because I talk about swatching all the time and how important it is, do I buy extra yarn when I know that I'm going to need to swatch? And I do not. Generally, when a designer is giving you yarn requirements, so how much yarn you're going to need to complete the project, they are taking into account that you're going to need yarn to swatch. So me personally, when I would design patterns, I would add a buffer of about 7 to 10% on top of what the actual numbers are. That kind of accounts for different tensions, or if you maybe add a little bit to the length of the sleeves or something. Everybody knits a little bit differently, so there's that. But yes, you also want to account for swatching. So you do want that little bit extra. I also make sure that when I'm making my swatches, especially when I'm making them in the round, that I don't cut them. So I know you can make a swatch in the round and then like cut it up the back and then measure it that way. I don't do that specifically for if I do need to undo that swatch and steam it to let the stitches relax a little bit, or let the yarn relax before I knit with it again. If I do need to do that, then it's not just all little tiny pieces, so I can always undo my swatch if I need to. So no, I do not buy extra yarn for swatching. The other question they had was about the charts. So let me see. Don't think I have the pattern here, but did I bring my tool with me? No. All right. So okay. I have a stitch dictionary here I can show you on. So with this pattern, if you're, she was saying that some people find the pattern a little bit complex because it's not repeatable. And that's true. It's about 24 stitch repeat, and none of it repeats. So like a Fair Isle, you'll have a couple rows and you can see the pattern forming and you can kind of memorize it pretty easily. This you can't. I like that because I find it engaging. But one of the things that has helped me do that, I will show you. Not this book, this book. Let's see if there's any charts in here. Oh, of course, this book has no charts. Okay, back to this book. These are lace charts, but I'll show you anyways. So say we have a chart like this. Looking at that chart and knowing where you are exactly in that chart is a little bit tricky. So what I like to do, because I also don't have any of this here, but get your hands on some washi tape. It's like masking tape that you can kind of take on and off multiple times. And what I like to do is, say I'm on row 9, I put my washi tape to cover rows 10 and up. So like this. And you might think, oh, well, why are you covering the rows you haven't done yet instead of the rows, you have done? Wouldn't you put it down here underneath row 9? I actually put it above, and that way I can see that I'm going to be working the top row, so whatever's below the washi tape, that's the row that I'm going to be knitting, and I can also see what I've already done. That's the important part. That's why you put it above, because if you can see what you've already done, then you can make sure that you're matching it up with what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So you can see that, okay, I have 3 stitches and then there's going to be 1 and 2 of a different color over top, something like that. So you're just seeing what you're doing next and what you've already done, instead of covering what you've done and then hopefully everything goes in the right places. So that's something that I found really helpful with stranded knitting like this, where it's not repeatable, where you're not really going to get, there isn't a rhythm or a flow that you're really going to get into with color work like this. Washi tape on my charts. That's how I deal with that. And above the row that you're actively working on. I think I just have one more thing that I wanted to share with you. Yeah, so I have, last week, I went through all my yarn and I organized it all. I was doing inventory and I reorganizing things and going through everything. And I realized that I have a lot of yarn and I have a lot of projects that I have been thinking about. And, you know, I'm kind of at the point with these two sweater projects that the finish line is ahead. You know, it's getting close. I have a neckline to figure out and some little sleeve thingies to do. I have two sleeves and a neckband. You know, they're getting close to the end. And one of the things that I teach a lot is about swatching. I teach a class specifically about how to pick the right patterns and sizes and how to do all those beginning steps so that you get a sweater that fits you really well. And in one of those is about it's about swatching. What am I talking about? Sorry. One of those things that's really important in that class is okay, yeah, so swatching. One of the things that I talk a lot about is swatching. And the way that I explain swatching and how to swatch really accurately so that so that your swatch is going to match your final finished fabric, it takes some time to do that, to actually swatch like that. Sometimes, you know, one of the things I really suggest is after you've knit your swatch, give it time to relax. And I don't mean just like letting it sit there for an hour. I mean scrunching it up. I mean putting it in your purse. I mean, you know, these things, especially for sweaters, they're going to be lived in. So you really want your swatch to be lived in as well so that you really know what that fabric is going to do, how it's going to behave, and what the actual measurements are going to be while you're wearing it. So with that in mind, someone had asked me during one of my classes, well, what do you do in the meantime? You know, you're spending all this time making this swatch, and then you have to like wait a few days before you can even cast on your sweater. Like, what are you doing in the meantime? And, you know, there's other project planning stuff that, especially if you're making modifications to it, you really want to do ahead of time. And so I kind of explained to them this, you know, I have a sweater. I have two sweaters now that I can see the finish line on. I'm getting close to the end. So instead of waiting until those sweaters are done to cast on my swatch and start my next project, now is when I'm going to be thinking about my next project. So since I have these two sweaters that are almost there, I'm starting to plan my next project. And as I was sitting doing inventory, I realized how much yarn I have and how many projects I have been planning in my head. And so I decided to pull out some yarn to start thinking about what I'm going to be working on next. And what I've probably decided on, maybe, is I want to make something a little summery and maybe like a tank top or something. And I have these 3 skeins of Tide. Actually, they're not all the same. 2 are Coast. So these are Holst Garn. 2 of them is Coast, which is lamb's wool and cotton, and 1 is Tide, which is wool and silk. But they're both the same weight. I'm not too worried about them being slightly different fibers. I think this will make a really, really nice summer top. And I'm thinking the purple and the white have the same amount of yarn. I used some of this one. So the gray has a little bit less than these two. So I'm going to do some sort of striping pattern somehow with these 3. Maybe like a little bit thicker stripe with the white, a thin stripe of gray, thicker stripe of the purple, thinner of the gray, thicker of the white, you know, stripes of these two with little lines of the gray in between maybe. I'm going to swatch it out and see how that's going to go. And definitely for this project, this is not a lot of yarn. This is a ton. So I'm really squeaking by with this. I might pull the trigger and maybe buy another one of these white, and then I can do like a bit of a thicker stripe of, or like a stripe of white, stripe of purple, stripe of white, stripe of gray, something like that maybe might be more more doable. So I might pick up one more of these. We'll see. I'm going to look at I have a couple of patterns in mind, so I'm going to, I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to look at the yardage and see if I can squeak by with maybe these guys. So the pattern that I am thinking of at the moment is called the Cari Top by Sarah Antopenkov. And I'll just actually show you what it looks like. I have this set up right. Ah, here we go. So this one, it is very cute. It's like a little vest with these tiny little buttons. And one thing I really like about it is the edging on the neckband. I think it's folded or something, but I think it'll look really nice with the stripes because it's very seamless. And then you have just these teeny tiny little buttons that go down the front. I was looking at projects. So let's pop into the projects. This is kind of what I was talking about before, about how helpful projects can be. This girl, look how adorable. It looks so cute on everyone. But this one in particular, she was saying that she sewed the edges together to prevent gaping between the buttons, and I think I would probably do the same. I really love, like, the buttons are the look of the sweater, and I think that, you know, of course I want the buttons, but I might also just seam it shut. I'm never going to wear it open. So, but yeah, if you look at all these projects, like how beautiful, like this one is so cute. This one, there was one that I really loved. Oh, it just looks so, like, I don't know, casual and fun and summery. This one, I love this one, her whole outfit. Yeah, so I'm heavily leaning towards this. Oh, I like these stripes too, where she kind of switched them at the bottom. There's more, but I'm not gonna show too many more. So I'm gonna check the yardage and see if maybe I can squeak by with this. I mean, the last project I was playing Yarn Chicken with didn't really work out so well, but it did. It's going to turn into a really cute t-shirt. This one, I mean, if I run out of yarn, I think I'm kind of hooped. So I'll actually look into it and see how much she suggests for the size that I'm going to knit. And yeah, so maybe I'll have a new swatch to show you. I probably won't cast on. I'm kind of like a 2-project max person. So I have these 2 sweaters going. I'm probably going to cast on another pair of socks because socks are just the project that I have for whatever. I don't really count those as projects. So 2 main projects. So once one of these sweaters is done, I will cast this on. But I'll probably start planning this in the meantime. But yeah, that's kind of all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you do want to learn, I know I do talk a lot about making alterations and making changes to patterns. My Rosie sweater, you know, I changed the... Ooh, if you watch that video about planning the Rosie sweater, my gauge changed a lot, so I had to knit a completely different size. You know, there are just lots of, I think for the Paul Klee sweater, I combined 2 sizes together. I'm sure there are some alterations that I'm going to need to make for this sweater. I think the yarn that she uses is a sport. This is definitely not a sport weight yarn. So I'm going to have to do some figuring on that as well. If that's something that interests you, if that's something that you also want to try and put into your own knitting, I do have a full online course called Altering Sweater Patterns, where I really dive deep into those sorts of topics. So I talk about how to combine two sizes of a pattern together. I talk about what to do with if your gauge is different than the designer. I do talk about adding short rows as well, like I tried to do with the Paul Klee Sweater, and how to do that, as well as adding shaping or changing the shape of a sleeve, adding shaping to the body, making it A-line, making it more tailored to your silhouette, all sorts of different things, as well as all the things that you need to do for project planning before you even cast on. So I'll put a link to that down below. It's called the Altering Sweater Patterns course, and it's on our online platform, Kajabi. And yeah, so you can check that out if that's something that interests you. All right, so thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you back here next week. Maybe not next week, 2 weeks maybe. Maybe I'll have a finished sweater. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.